Hey everybody, Pete Hendrix with Hendrix Classics here. We've had several folks make a request for a video showing soap being made, and so here we are. Making soap is just like making a big pot of chili or spaghetti with a persnickety recipe. And so sugar plus milk plus cocoa equals hot chocolate, and fats plus oils and fats and oils plus lye equals soap. So there are three stages in the soap making process. The first one are the oils, or a stage are the oils where you are going to get those heated. We do use heat in the process here. Also, let me comment, you can see we're very picky about cleaning everything. Everything was clean already, but I'm going back and have sprayed that microfiber towel with 70% ethyl alcohol, which is what they use with hand sanitizer, and wipe everything down with it. So one stage are the oils. Then we're going to make a lye solution and add the lye solution to the oils once the temperature's right. And then once the saponification occurs, we'll add the final ingredients and we'll put it into the containers. So lye is very dangerous. You'll be hearing a lot about the precautions we take to ensure safety. And with lye, a lye solution with water at 300 degrees for 3 days will completely melt an animal carcass or a corpse, or it's very, very powerful stuff, and you have to be careful. Now, one thing you have to do is use a lye calculator. And a lye calculator, it's software. I suspect there's just a spreadsheet behind it, but it tells you how much lye is going to be needed for the amount of oil you're putting in, and I'm sure some other ingredients come into account, but you want to make sure there's going to be enough lye so that it will saponify, and you don't want too much soap where there's some that doesn't saponify, because someone will go to shave with that soap and it will not be a happy ending there. So very, very careful with it. Now, we don't like use 2 scoops of this and 2 scoops of that. We weigh everything, which is the best practice. And with the lye, we are especially careful, but we weigh everything. I wouldn't say, well, yeah, we're probably more careful with lye, but we're careful with everything. So as you can see here, I'm pulling the various ingredients and covering them with some saran wrap. I had not made soap but maybe twice since 2020 when Joe came on board. So, there were a couple of things that I needed to do. It's like riding a bicycle, but I did make one error, which I'll tell you about later. And it's a safety error, so that one is important. So now we are making the lye solution, and what that's going to look like is we'll use a certain amount of distilled water. And we use distilled water because even if we took tap water and boiled it, there will still be various minerals and things in that water, and we don't want that. If you know me, you know how funny I am about fragrance. Well, I don't want any molecules that are not needed to bind with the fragrance when it's in the soap. So those are the reasons we use distilled water. And then I just added the aloe powder and reconstituted the aloe. Next, you can see up at the top, kind of left, you can see, so I'm getting ready to break into the lye. So I'm showing you where I'm putting on safety glasses. And with lye, I came up with a little poem. Lye into water is the right order. Water into lye will put out your eye. Kind of like little things you learn in high school for, I before E except after C and all that stuff. So I'm putting it in. You will see me stirring it in a moment. I'm being careful when I stir it so that I'm not slinging it out. The lye will stick to the bowl there, and so I'm trying to get it all out. And when you see me knocking that bowl on the lye, I'm doing it in a specific way so that lye can't bounce back out. And, because we don't want any of that sitting around. If that video were slow, you'd see that I'm stirring carefully. Temperature, with everything, temperature matters. Lye has so much power that when it's mixed with water, it goes to about 205 degrees. It almost boils, and it only takes a few seconds for it to get that hot. So, that's just, I'll tell you, in this business, one thing I have learned is people don't realize how there are things in their home that, if mixed together, could it could cause something bad to happen. And I'm covering that with the foil because it's so hot. I have to put the vent holes in there, but the main purpose on the sticky wrap on top of that is so that if an accident happens and that thing gets spilled, it will limit how much it gets in other places. It's not a problem to clean the lye solution off of surfaces, but if it gets on a person, it's a whole different ball of wax, and that's why we don't want that happening. Okay, so now I'm adding all the oils and excuse me, adding the oils and getting ready to turn on the induction heater. So we all have stoves at home. And I told you that making soap is like making a recipe for something. And the smart move when making shave soap are to use induction stoves or induction heaters instead of the ones like you cook with. What we cook with is too hot for soap and the other things that we heat when we're making it. So, and an induction heater makes it easier to keep it to the temperature where you want. So the oils are heating. That was just me walking away where I had weighed out the fragrance that we're going to use. We use 9% fragrance, and we're about to get approved for the EU, and once that happens in the EU, we can only use half that amount, but it is what it is. Okay, so now I'm pulling out the drill, and this is going to be used to mix the lye and the oils. We want it mixed very, very well. We don't want a little speck of lye that doesn't get mixed in and saponified. And so when you mix the oils and the lye, there's a chemical reaction called saponification. And until it saponifies, it's hot. That lye it's hot temperature, but it's chemically hot, which is where the even bigger danger is. So I'm getting ready so that when we add the lye, we'll be able to mix it. And I'm just stirring the oils. We want to keep those well mixed. And seeing here is where I laid out the tubs. You can't see the individual tubs, but you can kind of see them. And then shave sticks. And then what showed a moment ago were the molds that we used to make pucks with. Those mainly go overseas. So I'm mixing and mixing and mixing. Now, I told you I made a safety error here, and what I did is with that drill, I was doing it too quickly, and was slinging that hot lye mix all over everywhere. You can see I'm cleaning it up. That is a very bad practice, and if I had been making soap recently, I wouldn't have allowed this to happen. But you can see the dots on that cardboard at the lower left. That's lye. And so that is, I can't emphasize enough how much of a not good practice it was to allow that stuff to sling. And I will not let it happen again. You know, we all make mistakes, and I haven't made soap much in quite a few years, but that's a mistake I won't let happen again. So now it's their temperature is just so important when you're making soap, and I always keep an eye on that. You know, there were stirring, and what you'll see now is a lot of stirring and a lot of stirring and a lot of taking the temperature, and we're going to keep doing that. And here pretty quick we will I'm getting tired. Here pretty quick, we're almost there. Unfortunately, I accidentally permanently deleted the video showing me pouring the soap into the containers, but I want you to see how that's done, and I'm getting ready to make more soap. Joe's daughter is getting married, so I'm the soap chef for now, and on the next one I'll show pouring it. So this really brings us to the end. Once you get it poured, it's still pretty warm, and so we let it cool, and then we get the tops on it and, you know, wipe off the extra soap, and that's it. Thank you so much for joining. Bye now.